So we continue with our session on the Third Noble Truth. So I understand part 1 could be too difficult to understand. To be very honest, we experience the Nibbana every moment in our life. According to Bhikkhu Buddhadasa's book titled Nibbana, so he's a teacher I respect very much as well. He has a book on karma, he has a book on Nibbana. Both I think are explained simply. So what he say about Nibbana is mainly just relaxing. If there are no moments of relaxation in our life, imagine your life is just stress, thinking, non-stop. Okay, like if your thoughts have no space, meaning there are no moments where you actually rest, you'll be dead already. And imagine if you keep breathing in, breathing out, breathe in, breathe out very quickly without a rest in between your breath, you are also dead already. So basically the rest in between the breath, the rest in between your thoughts, and even with our body, right, there is activity and then there's rest. Without that rest, we will all be dead already. So what is that rest? This restful state of the space between your thoughts, space between your breath, is something we don't look at enough. And because we don't look at enough, and our minds are becoming more and more stimulated by outer things, especially with social media, short form videos, we are finding less and less space in our thoughts. And when there are less and less space in your thoughts, you tend to breathe faster as well. And I have colleagues who tell me that they find it very stressful because they can't stop thinking. Even when they go for massage, they can't stop thinking. That is our world today. We are getting more and more out of touch with this state of rest. And this state of rest, Bhikkhu Buddhadasa said, is that moment of Nibbana. Nibbana itself is restful, it's relaxed, it's, that feeling of rest, that feeling of relax, is actually the body opening up. So when you think a lot, you watch a lot of TV, or watch a lot of social media, and even if you don't watch a lot of social media, you by nature think a lot of the past and the future, then you will feel your body contracting, and that contraction is something we call stress. So that contraction we call stress is also known as dukkha, which is the opposite of nibbana, which is relaxed. Whole body, every muscle is open and relaxed, and that the whole body is fine without any sense stimulation, that it feels open and restful without any thoughts, without you seeking any thinking. Because even if we don't do any bodily activities, we always seek to think. Yeah. So basically that is the easiest way to explain Nibbana. We experience it every day, every moment, but we don't look at it. Okay. So right now I have all these slides just to explain what is the Third Noble Truth. But what I just gave you is the simplest way to experience Nibbana every moment in your life. You got to notice the rest between your breath, the rest between your thoughts. Yeah? Okay, so now I'll continue with the slides I have. And I'm sorry if they may come across too difficult for understanding. So this is really for those who are meditating, who have gained certain insights about their mind, who might have experienced what in early Buddhism called the jhana states. So for these practitioners, they may be able to understand these slides a bit better. Okay, but if you don't understand, it's fine. You can just listen along and take time to notice the rest between your activities, how the body actually needs rest, how your breath actually needs rest in between the in and out breath, and how your thinking also needs rest. And take note of that restful feeling, how it feels. Okay, so now I'm going to continue with my slides. So this verse is from Dhammapada, where the Buddha had this inspired verse, right? Or you can call it Gatha, when he experienced when he realized this state of nibbana, or this state of rest. Okay, so he said, I, who have been seeking the builder of this house, failing to attain enlightenment, which would enable me to find him, have wandered through innumerable births in samsara. To be born again and again is indeed dukkha. So to be born again and again, as you have seen in the second noble truth through the 12 links of dependent origination, you understand that in Buddhist psychology, being born again and again is not the bodily birth and death. It's really about the mind. Being born again and again. You experience different thoughts that brings on different feelings, that brings on different desires every moment. Okay, so most of the moment is neutral because we're not really aware, but when something stimulates the sense bases, then that awareness get jotted open, that awareness of sense base get jotted, and then there is all these thoughts, desires, feelings arising. That would be one birth, and then that will cease, and then later on another birth of these thoughts, feelings, and new experience comes. That's another birth. Yeah. So when the Buddha said he has been seeking the builder of this house, which is the body, okay, failing to attain enlightenment, buddhi nana, awakened mind, which would enable me to find him, the builder of the house. So you can say, certain religions say the builder of this house is God. Okay, so maybe Buddha. So remember, all religions are seeking that essence. Some call God, some call the builder of the house, some call the creator. Although Buddhism sounds very, very non-religious because the word God is not mentioned, there is also something. The Buddha didn't set out, okay? He didn't set out to do this on an ego trip, to prove his ego wrong. Definitely no. He was doing this to seek something more lasting, which he doesn't call it God. Yeah. But although there is a TV series called The Buddha, which was made during the pandemic, I think there's 55 episodes. It was on Netflix. Now you can find it on YouTube. You need to turn on the English subtitles. In that TV series, Siddhartha Gautama did say, if there is God, God must be in all of us. It will not be outside of us. It will not be separate from us. So definitely Siddhartha Gautama was a religious man, not in the dogmatic sense, but in a very science-based sense. He was into investigation. Okay, so he was trying to find the builder of the house, which you can call God or creator. Yeah. So he said, "Oh, house builder, you are sin. You shall build no more house for me again." So who is this house builder? He continued, "All your rafters are broken. Your roof tree is destroyed. My mind has reached the unconditioned nibbana. The end of craving has been attained." So actually, the house builder is craving of the mind that prevents the mind from awakening to the unconditioned, which is, you call it God, call it creator, you call it emptiness, you call it essence, whatever. Yeah. So he realized that the house builder is not what we think, oh God or whatever. It's the mind that has been closed up for so long that it cannot open, cannot be relaxed, and therefore it cannot expand. Okay, once you expand, you open up, let go, surrender, relax, allow. All this suggests opening up, not contraction of the mind body. So you open up, and then you can experience something that what the Buddha called unconditioned. Of course, there are different layers to the experience. Sometimes in the Hinduism and even Thich Nhat Hanh, he calls it an onion, right? Most of the time we are living on the outer skin of the onion. So when you are opening up to inside, outside, you reach deeper and deeper and deeper within the onion. Or a better description by Saint Teresa of Avila, she described it as a castle. She said most of us live outside the castle where snakes and crocodiles abound. There's no safety. So you enter the first hall of the castle. There is some relative safety, but there's also danger because you are still scared of going into the inner courts of the castle. Because the inner court of the castle is where the king or the emperor resides. That means the emperor in you, which is people call God or essence. And it's not so easy to see the king, right, in your heart. You have to do certain practices. You have to have sincerity to see that king that resides in your heart. Okay, which she called it the inner castle. For her, there's 7 layers. So for Saint Teresa, she went to the 7th jhana. For Buddhists, the Buddha talked about the 8th jhana, and then when all 8 are released, you finish and you glimpse the unconditioned in the 9th jhana state. If you're confused, don't worry. We'll definitely talk about meditation much later on, and you will understand the jhana states, because we'll go through them. So this is the Udana Sutta. This is not part of the 4 Pali canon. This is the 5th canon, right? So the Buddha said, blissful is detachment for one who is content. So you see, when there is openness, where there is letting go, there is contentment. And contentment is not that kind of suppressed detachment, not like, oh, I don't care, I'm detached. I'm not going to own anything. I'm not going to eat this or that because I'm detached. I don't, yeah, there's good food, but I'm going to deny that good food tastes delicious. I'm detached. It's not that kind of detachment. It's the openness to anything that can come, whether tasty food or not tasty food, whether it's pleasant experience or unpleasant experience. Because one is open to them, not contracted in dukkha, not contracted because of the misconception of a self. Because every time you hold on to a personality, there will always be a very subtle dukkha there. Yeah. So for one who has opened up the heart and mind, there is contentment and there's bliss. Yeah, there's bliss. It's not the kind of heart detachment, yeah, that is intellectual. It's not like that. Okay, so for one who has learned Dharma and who sees, blissful is non-affliction in the world, restraint towards living creatures. So for one who is open to pleasant, unpleasant, delicious or awful food, whatever it is, they can come into your experience, they can go from experience, there's no holding on, then you realize how nice that there's no conflict in the world, right? Even when you talk about food, there's conflict, especially for Singaporeans. The food doesn't taste so good. Oh, I don't feel satisfied. I must treat myself to something else. You see, there's conflict even in everyday things. Imagine when you can treat food without conflict, whether it's delicious or not delicious. Delicious, okay, it comes, it goes. Not delicious, okay, it comes, it goes. Nothing. Then you realize how wonderful it is that there is no conflict in the world, even in regards to just having food. Yeah. And restraint towards living creatures. Because why? Because you're so open. You no longer feel that you need to build all this boundary to keep yourself safe, because you know that safety is not possible in our world, because all of us have to die somehow, although we make logical ways to keep ourselves safe, but we have to be open to the fact that it is impermanent and Yeah, and then you have restraint towards living creatures because you finally understand that everyone feels stress. And then you stop wanting to be hard on other people who really just can't open and just can't relax. And when you can do it, you become a lot more open to other people, more restrained to living creatures who may not agree with you, because you finally understand that they behave this way because of misconception of a self and that they are not open. So blissful is passionlessness in the world. Why? Because passion is driven by a sense of self. You want to be driven, motivated to get that thing. And as I mentioned before, when you have a goal, motivation to get something, your body tightens, it contracts. There's no opening. So the overcoming of sensual desires is more like, transcending them. They can come, they can go, you hold nothing. But the abolition of the conceit I am, that is truly the supreme bliss. So conceit is the last stage of opening up. Because no matter what, even if you have a glimpse as a first stage of enlightenment, a glimpse of this unconditioned, there will still be a sense of self. This sense of self is really the hardest thing to let go of. Yeah. So skillful roots arise with cessation of craving. So remember, the unwholesome roots are greed, hatred, and delusion. Everything arises from greed, hatred, and delusion. So if you are identified with the body, you will, it's quite animal instinct, right? We will need to keep enough for ourselves so that we can survive. And anything that prevents that survival, we hate it. Yeah. It's a very survival instinct. So that I wouldn't say that there is a fault or sin in that. It's just that when we overdo it or we do it unconsciously, it creates a lot of conflict in ourselves, which we then bring out into the world. Yeah? Conflict, you already see, right? When you have greed for something, you want to keep things for survival for yourself, the family, something threatens it, hatred, so there's conflict. Greed and hatred are conflicts, and you can see in the world. And they're driven by delusion, because we don't see that no matter how much we covet, how much we try to survive, in the end no one survives. That's what Ayya Khema said. I'll always remember this from what she said. No one survives, no matter how much we try to survive. Okay? Again, this is not to say don't do anything. I'm not saying don't work. I'm not saying just chillax and don't do anything. No, it's just that you have to be very aware of this instinct in your heart and know how to manage it, how to balance it, and of course the best would be to transcend it. Okay? So what happens when you learn to get into that relaxed state? Relax means your body is open up, it's not contracted in any way. Again, this is very hard to open up. As long as you believe a sense of self, that opening up really takes time to release. Okay, so but when you manage some to open up, you're right, greed becomes contentment, hatred becomes love, delusion becomes understanding. Yeah, contentment. Why? Because you no longer feel that, because you finally realize that this self is condition, is a concept, is an idea. Personality is an idea, right? And when you realize that, yes, you still need to eat, you need to survive, but you are a lot less demanding. You become very low maintenance because you realize, this is a concept. Actually, yeah, there's a body. The body only needs this much. It doesn't really need that extra. Okay, so we don't need to overdo that eating or being overly concerned what we eat or what we possess. Very easily contented. Okay, when you realize that impermanence and that this self is really an idea, even though there is an experience of being alive, we really don't need that much to stay alive as a human being. Okay, then you have contentment. And then because you are contented, you are very low maintenance, then When something is taken from you, you don't have so much hatred. It's reduced and hatred becomes love. You're willing to give to another, not because, not just only because you're practicing generosity, but because so this is a deeper level of generosity, right? When you don't meditate and you don't understand the Buddhist concept, you practice generosity to learn to open your heart slowly, but this is a deeper level. This deeper level is for one who has seen the 5 aggregates, conditioned the idea of a self, which is ultimately doomed to impermanence, and then you found certain delight in your meditation. You understand that openness, relaxation doesn't mean that there is nothing there. There is something else there which is not so material. Then you're contented, then you have love, and all this is done through understanding. Understanding of the Buddha's teachings, and you're giving out of love to people. You are less petty. You don't like measure, I give this, I take that amount, that person give this, I should take that amount. People say, yeah, it's about give and take. I disagree. It's about love. Love is never about give and take. Love is having compassion and understanding that the other person is like you, but they don't have the understanding to reach that contentment that you have, and so you're able to be compassionate, and so you can give out of love, not out of measurement, right? So contentment is the quality of Third Noble Truth, the feeling of enoughness. The heart is full, it's no longer empty. There is ease, a lot of ease, a lot of relaxation. The mind doesn't always seek outwards, doesn't really need to always think. It's very happy to rest in the present. That's contentment. Love is quality of Third Noble Truth too. Love and compassion arise from the heart mind, as I've explained earlier. Understanding, which is wisdom, is also a quality of the Third Noble Truth, where unskillful mind states are understood and ceased. Right? Greed, hatred, delusion are understood and is slowly given up. And then love and contentment are revealed, and then you are on the path already to liberation. So again, in Majjhima Nikaya number 9, Shariputra said, the root of the unskillful was greed, hatred, delusion. What is the root of skillful? He said contentment, love, and understanding. This is the root of the skillful. Skillful action comes from these 3 qualities. So you can also interpret with it as with understanding. So understanding comes from discernment, comes from investigation of your experiences and through meditation. There is understanding. And when there is understanding, there is love and there is contentment. Where there is love, there is understanding. They cannot be separate. That means compassion and wisdom are 2 wings of a bird. This I learned very early in a Tibetan Buddhist school. They say shamatha, meditation, and vipassana, 2 wings of a bird. Then you go into the center, they're always talking about wisdom and compassion, and this is what it means. Where there is love, where there is compassion, there is understanding. Where you have no compassion, it means you have no understanding. So any monastic I come across who have no openness, no compassion to other traditions except for their own, which they divide and they condemn others, other religion or other tradition of their own religion, then I know for sure they definitely are not enlightened, because there is no understanding. So how to cease greed, hatred, and delusion? So this is from Anguttara Nikaya 3.68. So the Buddha, I think it's the Buddha, right? What is the cause? What is the reason why greed doesn't arise? And if it's already a reason is given up, you should say the ugly feature of things. When you apply the mind rationally on the ugly feature of things, greed doesn't arise. So these are like antidotes, when you have a lot of lust, you should contemplate that. Okay, so lust arise from the beautiful features of things, right? Then you should contemplate. Well, for example, if you have a lust for a handbag, okay, it costs a certain amount, although you can afford it, but you really lust for it, no? Then you think, I'm looking at the beautiful feature of the handbag, but actually over time this handbag will rot, and after I own it for a year, I may not appreciate it anymore. I already have 10 handbags at home. Do I really need this one? Okay, so this kind of everyday contemplation, right, to help you reduce your greed. Yeah, so I'm just giving a very simple example. You can apply it to all the other examples, and you also can apply to the world of ideas, right? When someone thinks, I need to achieve that in order to get that, in order to be something, be someone. Okay, then you sit and think, for example, I'll give you a very good example. In the world of ideas, the beauty feature of things. In the past, I wanted to be a famous director, a filmmaker, because I really love telling stories and filmmaking, right? And then I used to feel a bit envious and jealous of other filmmakers. Why other people have the opportunities, but because I was poor and I don't really have the talent, and so, I wasn't given the equal opportunity. Then after a while, I had this realization that, hey, wait, this peer who's famous now will not be famous forever. Why do I want to be famous? I want to be famous because I want to be remembered. I don't want to be forgotten. This little life of mine, after death, I wish to be remembered. Then I realized so many film directors that made their names, everybody don't remember, most people don't remember them anymore. Yeah, like if you were to like Billy Wilder was a 1960s, I think 50s Hollywood director. How many people remember him and know him? Well, when he just passed, many people will, but after years gone by, less and less people will remember him. So then I had that realization, and I actually gave up the idea of wanting to be a filmmaker for the sake of that, but rather out of passion and interest. If I have the opportunity, I would do it. Yeah, so that's one example. Next one, if they ask what is the cause, what is the reason why hate doesn't arise, or if it's already a reason, it's given up, they say it's the heart's released by love. So you can say love, compassion, is the antidote to hate. Okay, so if you are a person who feels that you need to meet your parents or the world's standard to be successful in some way, or to be a successful parent, and you find that you haven't met that standard and you feel upset with yourself, that is actually hate. So when this hate arises, how do you give it up? You should apply love. Love is the antidote to hate. Like, how can I hate myself if I'm not a successful parent, or I'm not a successful anything in the world? I'm nothing in the world. How do I love myself? No, you apply compassion to yourself. Okay, that you actually hate yourself. So sad. The world has enough conflict. You may not have enough love from your children or your parents, and then you go and hate yourself. Wow. And then when you realize this, you actually want to sayang yourself, meaning you want to apply, this balm of compassion with yourself. Oh no, why do you do this to yourself? There's enough conflict in the world. There's enough, not getting what you want from other people. Why can't you have compassion for yourself? And by having compassion for your suffering, you will release that hate, of that suffering of hate. And when you experience the release of suffering of hate through compassion in yourself, then you will understand and look around you, the people around you, and actually feel compassionate for them, because you realize everyone is the same. Everyone wants something from someone and they don't get it. And because they don't get it, they hate themselves. They create conflict in themselves. And when you truly see that, then you truly understand what is compassion. That it first has to be applied to yourself before you can apply to anyone else. Because if you don't apply to yourself, how will you know compassion is the cure for hate? right? You have to experience for yourself first. Okay, so next, if they ask what is the cause, what is the reason why delusion doesn't arise, or if it's already a reason, how is it given up? Okay, so the antidote to irrational mind, which is delusion, is the rational application of the mind. Okay, when you apply your mind rationally, delusion doesn't arise, or if it's already a reason, is given up. So what is the rational application of mind? Rational application of mind means to see your day-to-day experience using the Four Noble Truths as a reference, instead of depending on your sense base or five aggregates where you just react. Okay, so a person who uses Four Noble Truths, they are able to do self-reflection. Okay, so there's this professor, Chinese professor's video whom I watched. He said that genius doesn't come from rational thinking. Genius from science, from any field, comes from inspiration, comes from self-reflection. You must be able to self-reflect in order for there to be change. And the Four Noble Truths, okay, simple as they may sound, requires a mind that likes to look inward and self-reflect. Okay, so let me emphasize, self-reflection is a spiritual practice. And if you cannot self-reflect, you're always impulsive in your reaction, and you want to be on a spiritual path, you will really need to work on that. Okay, all right, so that's enough for part 2 of the Third Noble Truth. We'll continue next time.